Greetings, students, and welcome to our first of 2 weeks on the British. All right, so we've gone through our keywords and concepts videos for the week, and now we are ready to go into our reading and our documentary. So here's the deal. For this week, I found a really awesome documentary, like really, really awesome, but it's kind of long, like really long. So I felt kind of guilty about that. So, in exchange, because I am making you watch a longer documentary, I have pulled some very short readings. This week we will be reading some poems by Anne Bradstreet. This was the first woman published from the Americas, from the New World, in 1650. It was called 10 Muses Lately Sprung from America. It was very, 17th century. But this was a lady who was writing. A little bit about Anne Bradstreet. She was not poor. She was raised on a fancy estate in England where her father worked. We would think of her as kind of middle class, although that didn't really exist then. She probably would have thought of herself more as a lady, just by how she would have grown up. She was never formally educated. There weren't really female schools available at that point, but her father was quite the reader. And her father made sure she was educated and had access to the big fancy library on the estate. So she read all the books, like all the books that the boys would read. And she educated herself. She wasn't a Puritan or a separatist, actually. She was just a person who fell in love with a guy who then wanted to go to America. So she went with him. You can really see in her poetry the ambivalence she has for this whole project. Like she's kind of like, I don't know about all this, fellas. I don't know how this is going to work. But it's this great way for us to see the Puritans as people. And that's kind of what I want you guys to be thinking about this week. As we're going through our reading and our documentaries, I kind of want you to have the question in your mind, why do the Puritans get such a bad rap? Right? Because we actually use it as an insult. Like if you're a Puritan, you're a Puritan. Why won't you Puritan? These people were cool, man. They had to go through some stuff. These awful voyages, they're being harassed for their religion, they're being chased all over Europe, they finally get here, half of them die. It's this incredible story, and what do? We insult them. And we think they were weird and need to loosen up and all of this. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as you're reading this week. I want you to think about why we're so mean to the Puritans about how they were as people. So we're reading 3 poems this week from Anne, and the 3 poems I have selected are very good. The first one is the author to her book. It's very self-deprecating, like it's very people who took my book away from me and published it against my wishes because I thought it was stupid kind of thing. Like it's very, very realistic, very much a person. There's also a poem to my dear and loving husband. For those who think the Puritans were passionless and joyless and did not love. Oh yeah, they did. They had lots of babies. There's only one way that happens. And then finally, before the birth of one of her children. Now, I really like this poem because, and our documentary brings this up a little bit, especially to my female students. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to go to the New World pregnant or to get pregnant in the New World? No doctors, very few women. It'd be terrifying, right? She talks about it. She was terrified. She's actually writing it knowing that there is a distinct possibility she will die. And the woman knows from whence she speaks she had 8 babies. Okay, so she knows what she's talking about. So go ahead, read the 3 poems. I have them linked down below. And then we'll go ahead and watch our documentary and we'll have a chat about why the Puritans get such a bad rap.